The Kobe child murders. The case of Sakakibara Seito. I want you to imagine being 11 years old, walking home from school in what's supposed to be one of the safest countries in the world. You're thinking about homework, maybe video games, maybe what your mum cooked for dinner. And somewhere nearby, a 14-year-old boy is fantasizing about murder. Not robbery, not revenge, not anger. Murder for curiosity and excitement. And what's terrifying is, nobody around him truly realized how dangerous he already was. Because before he killed a child, he practiced on animals. And before he became one of Japan's most infamous juvenile killers, he was just a quiet kid blending into the background. This is the story of the Kobe child murders. The case of Sakakibara Seito, a name that terrified all of Japan in 1997. This case is genuinely disturbing. It's really hard for me to get through. Not just because of what happened, but because the killer was only 14 years old. 14. That part still blows my mind. Japan, in the 90s. So before we get into the murders themselves, we need to understand the atmosphere in Japan at the time. Japan has always had this global image of being extremely safe. Clean streets, children walking to school alone, low violent crime rates, respectful society. And statistically, it is one of the safest countries in the world. Which is why, when something truly horrific happens there, it shakes the country on a completely different level. Because people aren't psychologically prepared for it, especially crimes involving children. And in the 1990s, Japan was going through a weird emotional period socially. The economic bubble had burst, families were stressed, academic pressure on children was brutal. Isolation among teenagers was quietly increasing. But people didn't really talk openly about mental health back then, especially not in boys. If a child was quiet, withdrawn, strange, obsessed with violent things, many adults just dismissed it as a phase. That becomes really important later, because the boy at the center of this story had been showing warning signs for years. The discovery. May 27th, 1997. Kobe, Japan. Early morning. A school janitor at Tomagaoka Junior High School arrives to begin his usual routine. Totally normal morning, until he notices something near the entrance gate. At first, he sees dead cats, mutilated. Already disturbing enough. But then he gets closer and realizes there's something sitting on top of the school gate. A human head. An actual child's severed head. I cannot even imagine that moment. Like, your brain probably wouldn't even process it immediately. The victim was identified as 11-year-old Jun Hase. He had disappeared 3 days earlier. And the condition of the body was horrifying. The eyes had been removed. There were carved markings on the face. And inside the boy's mouth, police found a letter. That detail is so cinematic and terrifying that it almost sounds fictional. But it wasn't. The letter was written in red ink. It basically challenged police directly. This is the beginning of the game. Stop me if you can. I desperately want to see people die. It's a thrill for me to commit murder. The message was signed Sakakibara Seito, not a real name. A constructed alias using kanji associated with things like demons, roses, saints, violence. It sounded theatrical. almost anime villain-like. The killer wasn't just murdering. He was creating an identity for himself. He wanted an audience. He wanted fear. He wanted Japan to remember his name. And unfortunately, they did. Once investigators looked deeper, they realized Jun's murder wasn't isolated. For months, children in Kobe had been attacked. In February 1997, 2 schoolgirls were assaulted with a hammer. Then in March, a 10-year-old girl named Ayaka Yamashita was murdered. Another young girl barely survived a stabbing. And near these scenes, police kept finding mutilated animals. Cats, birds, frogs. This is one of the biggest red flags in criminal psychology. Animal cruelty escalating into violence against humans. And what's scary is how textbook this progression was. It wasn't subtle. The signs were there. But nobody imagined a child could be responsible. Because when people picture serial killers, they imagine adults, not middle school students, not someone still wearing a school uniform. Who was Boy A? Eventually, investigators narrowed in on a suspect, a quiet 14-year-old boy living nearby. Due to Japanese privacy laws, his identity was hidden publicly. He became known only as Boy A. Later, the world learned his real name, Shinichiro Azuma. And here's the terrifying part. He lived near Jun. He attended the same school where the severed head was displayed. Imagine finding out the killer was sitting in classrooms nearby this entire time. That's horrifying. When police searched his room, they discovered disturbing writings, violent fantasies, and evidence of deep obsession with death and mutilation. He confessed. And his confession was unbelievably cold. He said he lured Jun to a mountain area by promising to show him a giant turtle. An innocent child followed him. That part hurts to think about. Kids trust so easily. That's what makes these cases feel so evil. Jun wasn't prepared for danger. He wasn't suspicious. He was just a little boy. Azuma strangled him with a shoelace, then hid the body. The next day, he returned with a handsaw and removed the head. I genuinely had to pause while reading this case the first time, because it's so hard to comprehend emotionally, especially knowing the killer was only 14. 14-year-olds are supposed to worry about exams and soccer practice, not decapitation. A week later, newspapers received another letter from the killer. This one was even more disturbing because it revealed his mindset. He talked about feeling invisible, empty, consumed by hatred. He described murder almost like emotional release. It's only when I kill that I feel liberated. That line stayed with me. Because beneath all the horror, this was also the diary of an extremely broken teenager. Not excusing him at all. But understanding cases like this means looking at the psychology honestly. A lot of people reduce evil to monster. But monsters aren't born out of nowhere. Something develops. Something fractures. And according to psychologists, Azuma showed signs of severe emotional detachment and social isolation for years. He struggled socially. He withdrew into fantasy worlds. He became obsessed with knives. He tortured animals. He reportedly referred to other people as vegetables. That psychological dehumanization is incredibly dangerous. Because once someone stops seeing others as human beings, empathy disappears. And that's when violence becomes easier. One thing people outside Japan might not fully understand is how intense academic pressure can be there. From childhood, students are constantly evaluated. Grades determine status, future, respect, worth. And if you don't fit socially, isolation can become extreme. There's even a phenomenon called hikikomori, severe social withdrawal, where people lock themselves away from society for months or years. Some experts believe Azuma displayed signs of this mindset early on. And honestly, what people miss about this case is that the murders weren't only about sadism. They were also about power, recognition, control. A teenager who felt invisible, suddenly forcing an entire country to look at him. That's terrifying, because notoriety became his identity. The investigation twist. At first, some people doubted Azuma committed the crimes. There were weird inconsistencies. The killer appeared left-handed in some evidence, while Azuma was right-handed. The letters sounded unusually sophisticated for a teenager. Some wondered if an adult was involved. Others thought the police just wanted the case solved quickly. But then Azuma confessed directly to his mother. And apparently, even she was shattered beyond words. I can't even imagine being a parent in that situation. Like, genuinely. How do you process hearing your own child describe these things? How do you reconcile the little boy you raised with this? That emotional destruction affects entire families forever. Not just victims' families. Everyone connected to it. The trial. Because Azuma was a minor, the legal process was different. Japan protected his identity heavily. The media became obsessed. The entire country debated one question. Can a 14-year-old truly understand murder? And honestly, after reading his writings, yes. Disturbingly, yes. He knew exactly what he was doing. The level of planning alone proves that. The symbolic placement of the head, the letters, the theatricality. This wasn't impulsive rage. It was calculated psychological terror. Still, because of his age, he received treatment rather than a standard adult punishment. And this is where the story becomes controversial. Very controversial. Because in 2004, after less than 7 years, he was released. 7 years for multiple murders. That fact still shocks people in Japan today. The post-release controversy. Now here's where public anger exploded all over again. After his release, Azuma published a memoir about the murders, and it became a bestseller. Imagine being the victim's family and seeing the killer profit from the death of your child. That's so awful. Like, genuinely cruel. Apparently, he even sent copies with apology letters to some families, which honestly feels less like remorse and more like narcissism. Psychologists later described him as deeply attention-seeking, and I agree. Everything about this case screams desire for recognition. Even the alias, Sakakibara Seito, feels performative. Like he saw himself as the main character in some dark fantasy. Later, he created bizarre online content and disturbing self-portraits. People were horrified, because it didn't feel like someone disappearing quietly after rehabilitation. It felt like someone still fascinated by their own infamy. Here's something I think people miss about this case. Everyone focuses on the brutality, which obviously is horrifying. But the deeper fear comes from how ordinary he appeared. No dramatic movie villain energy. No obvious monster face. Just a quiet teenager. That's what scares society the most. Because it forces people to confront the uncomfortable reality that dangerous people don't always look dangerous. And another thing, this case changed Japan psychologically. Parents became more fearful. Schools changed security measures. The country became more aware of youth violence and mental health. It even led to lowering the minimum age for criminal prosecution from 16 to 14. That's massive. One teenager altered national law. But underneath all the media spectacle, there was a real child at the center of this. Jun Hase, an 11-year-old boy. Sometimes true crime discussions accidentally become too focused on killers and forget the victims. Jun liked normal kid things. He had friends, family, a future. And it was stolen in the most horrifying way imaginable. I honestly can't imagine what his parents went through, especially because the case became so public. Every detail televised, analysed, repeated. Their grief basically became national news. That sounds unbearable. Cases like this force uncomfortable questions. How early should society intervene when children show violent behaviour? Can someone this young truly be rehabilitated? Where's the line between mental illness, social failure, and pure evil? And maybe the scariest question of all, how many warning signs do people ignore because they don't want to believe a child could become dangerous? Because looking back, the signs were everywhere. The knives, the isolation, the animal torture, the violent writings, the emotional emptiness. But nobody imagined it would escalate this far. And now, nearly 3 decades later, Japan still remembers the name Sakakibara Seito. Not because people want to glorify him, but because the case shattered a national illusion, the belief that horror only comes from outsiders, strangers, adults. Sometimes it comes from the quiet kid next door.